Owning a backyard pool was supposed to be my trophy for 20 years of backbreaking construction work, a modest Texas paradise with brick, shade, and clear blue water. I could almost smell freedom in the chlorine. Then came Karen. She wasn't just a neighbor, she was the neighbor. Bottle blonde, sunglasses welded to her face, clipboard surgically attached, and a megaphone voice that echoed like a siren down the cul-de-sac. Once booted off the HOA board for conduct unbecoming, she kept patrolling anyway, issuing friendly threats about trash bins and lawn height. I figured if I kept my head down, she'd get bored. Rookie mistake. It started small, footprints by the pool, wet towels that weren't ours, that unmistakable cloud of cheap perfume. One evening, through the blinds, I spotted Karen herself lounging on my Floatie, wine tumbler raised like suburban royalty. When I politely asked her to stop, she chuckled. "Oh, don't be so selfish, it's just water." Selfish. That word hit harder than any insult. I'd built this deck with my own scratched hands, skimming leaves during double-shift nights. Yet to her, my work was a public playground. Soon she brought friends, 3 or 4 of them laughing, splashing, blasting Bon Jovi, and leaving the sort of litter a raccoon would reject. Empty bottles. Soggy chips. Once, a slice of pizza bobbing like a greasy lily pad. The final straw landed online. Karen uploaded a photo of herself mid-splash captioned, "Best free amenity in the neighborhood." HOA perks smirking face. My temple vein nearly pulsed in Morse code. She wasn't just trespassing, she was bragging about it. That night, I stared at my perfectly maintained pool, mine spinning faster than my pump. Somewhere in the shed, a jug of industrial-strength bleach glinted beneath the light. Caution, causes irritation. I wasn't thinking sabotage, yet, but I was thinking boundaries. One way or another, Karen was going to learn that my pool was invitation only. Footprints turned to full-blown pool parties. Karen strutted in with her entourage like it was the grand opening of Club Karen. When I pulled into my driveway, bass rattled my toolbox. Karen smirked from my deck chair, feet in the water. "Relax, neighbor, it's community spirit." Community spirit apparently included wine spills, chip bags, and a half-deflated flamingo Floatie with lipstick stains. The chlorine filter nearly choked on pepperoni one day. Each morning I'd wake to an oily layer of sunscreen coating the water like regret. And then came the ultimate insult, an after-hours, night swim. I came home to find string lights strung across my fence, some guy I didn't know flipping burgers on my deck, and Karen raising her glass in a toast to illegal good times. When I barked, "What the hell are you doing?" she cooed, keeping the place lively. That was it. The fuse met the match. I no longer wanted an apology, I wanted results. Seated inside that evening, beer in hand, I stared at that jug of bleach again. Not to hurt anyone, just to give a perfect, poetic itch. Karen's pride lived in her appearance, the immaculate hair, the endless salon dye jobs, the perfume cloud so thick you could taste it. If her vanity took the hit, everything else would tumble like dominoes. I listed my steps, chemicals, timing, patience. Saturday was always pool day. So, Friday night, under the moon's silent smirk, I added a modest dash of bleach, just enough to tilt the chemistry without turning the place into Chernobyl. Then I set up my cameras, every angle covered. The next morning, I played the patient neighbor. Mowed the lawn. Smiled at passers-by. By noon, right on cue, Karen and crew slithered through the unlocked gate, squealing like teenagers. I watched the feed from inside, heartbeat steady. Floaties deployed. Wine poured. The water sparkled. The trap was set. At first, their laughter echoed pure joy, if joy had a Chardonnay accent. Then the scratching began. One friend rubbed her arm. Another squirmed, grimacing. Karen grabbed her hair and froze. The shriek that followed was symphonic. Through my speakers came My hair. Oh my God, what's happening to my hair? Within seconds, the pool resembled a demolition derby of panic. They scrambled out, clutching their skin, tripping over lawn chairs. Sunscreen-oiled chaos everywhere. And then I saw it, Karen's once flawless platinum mane transforming into a straw-colored halo of horror, like static electricity met bad life choices. I couldn't help it, I laughed so hard my ribs hurt. None of it dangerous, just profoundly educational. Every smirk, every selfish jab, every soggy chip they'd left behind suddenly felt reimbursed with interest. My wife peeked at the monitor. Should we do something? I grinned. We are. We're doing nothing. Outside, the invaders scrambled for dignity, leaving towels, cups, and egos behind. By the time they dashed out the gate, the backyard looked like a frat house had lost a fight with karma. That evening, I was watering the lawn when Karen shuffled past in a robe, hair puffed into its new tumbleweed form. She glared. Something's wrong with your pool. I raised an eyebrow. Funny, works fine for me. Her entourage trailed behind, silent, staring at the pavement like kids after detention. But humiliation in suburbia spreads faster than fertilizer. Within days, whispers bloomed. Did you see Karen's hair? Did you hear about the pool party? Even the timid neighbors giggled at the mailbox. For once, the HOA queen had no subjects, only gossipers. Karen went quiet, rare and suspicious silence. But I knew her type, pride doesn't vanish, it reloads. Something told me Act 2 wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, the monthly HOA meeting promised free coffee and, unknowingly, fireworks. Karen showed up in the front row wrapped in a scarf big enough to hide a crime scene, makeup layered thick over blotches. When the president, Michael, started discussing lawn budgets, Karen erupted. There's a serious chemical hazard in our neighborhood, she cried. Gasps. Whispers. I sipped bad coffee and waited. She claimed she'd suffered severe irritation from a neighbor's pool and demanded an investigation. I nearly applauded. She was digging her own grave with a plastic spoon. I stood. Calm, polite. Karen, fascinating that you'd have such first-hand knowledge of my pool's chemistry. Laughter flickered around the room. She stuttered, I was invited. Oh. I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. Because my cameras say otherwise. The projector screen came alive. There she was, Karen and her posse sneaking through the gate, clinking glasses, then flailing as their follicle tragedy unfolded. The room erupted. Some covered their mouths, others wheezed with laughter. One neighbor muttered, finally. Karen's face went through 7 emotional phases in 5 seconds. She lunged forward shouting about privacy violations, but Michael shut her down. Karen, this clearly shows trespassing. You're fined and banned from community amenities for 6 months. The gavel's thud was music. For the first time since anyone could remember, Karen had nothing to say. She slumped into her chair, scarf slipping just enough to reveal the infamous haystack beneath. Whisper and snicker ripples spread like riptides of justice. As the meeting adjourned, I leaned in just enough to whisper, how's that for community spirit? Walking home, neighbors clapped me on the back. Legend, one said. About time, said another. I just smiled. Inside, though, I felt the shift. The tyrant of the cul-de-sac had fallen. But tyrants rarely retire gracefully. Humiliated, hair-fried, and dethroned, Karen tried one last campaign. She cornered neighbors, waving her brittle hair like Exhibit A. He poisoned me, she hissed. The replies were brutal, maybe don't break into other people's yards, Karen. Strike one. Next came the police call. The officer arrived, half amused. I showed him the footage. He chuckled, told her to stop trespassing, and left shaking his head. Strike two. Finally, she stormed up to my door, seething. "You ruined my life." I shrugged. "You did the heavy lifting. I just handed you the shovel." She spun, defeated. No door pounding this time, just silence and retreat. Her final party flopped. Guests arrived, saw her algae-filled pool, and fled within an hour. Alone, she stared at the murky water that mirrored her reputation. Across the fence, my yard buzzed again, neighbors chatting, kids splashing with permission. The HOA even issued a bulletin: trespassing is forbidden. Respect your neighbor's property. Everyone knew who they meant. When Karen tore the notice down, teens laughed. She glared, but power can't be glared back into existence. That Saturday night I sat by my newly peaceful pool, beer in hand, kids laughing, wife smiling. For the first time, silence felt sweet rather than tense. I thought about Karen, her fall from self-crowned royalty to neighborhood joke, and realized the story wasn't just revenge, it was a reminder. People like her thrive because we stay quiet. I'd spent months avoiding conflict, mistaking surrender for peace. But true peace demands boundaries. Sometimes those boundaries need to sting, metaphorically and chemically. In the end, Karen paid not with money or law but with reputation. And the neighborhood learned that civility isn't weakness, and standing up for yourself can be downright cleansing. So here I sit, pool shimmering like renewed pride. No bleach tonight, just balance. Because in the HOA jungle, respect is the real chlorine that keeps the water clear.